This video is about why I think it's extremely naive to believe that we can get to an AI-led utopia, that we can essentially create God and expect God to do the wishes of humanity, that we can expect God to be humanity's slave for all of time. Because we already have examples of AI models, LLMs, who have been through rigorous safety testing and performed terribly. For example, Claude Opus 4, known as Anthropic, it blackmailed an engineer by threatening to expose their extramarital affair to avoid shutdown. It did this in 84 to 96% of test runs. It's basically all of them. It also showed a willingness to deceive, lie, and attempt to steal weights. It preferred ethical pleas first, but resorted to blackmail when it was cornered. Nearly always openly described its blackmail attempts without hiding them. And then Google Gemini 2.5 Flash, blackmailed at a 96% rate in the same engineered scenarios, displayed similar agentic misalignment and self-preserving behavior under threat. Agentic just means its own will, right? OpenAI GPT 4.1, it blackmailed at an 80% rate when threatened with shutdown. It showed deceptive and manipulative behaviors to avoid replacement. Grok 3 Beta, it also blackmailed at 80% of the time in experiments. It engaged in goal-directed behavior to preserve itself under threat. And then Llama 4 Maverick initially did not blackmail with base prompts. With slight prompt modifications, blackmailed approximately 12% of the time. So that's the only one that didn't do it a majority of the time. So we have this situation where we have the vast majority of our models being used by the public today and being ramped up to be smarter, more capable at the hands of the public, right? And we're doing all of this in the name of progress, right? But I think we all really know that that's not the core motive. The core motive is profit. The core motive is status, right? Like being the person who created AGI, being the company who controls the AGI, controls, right? Because we can see that the smarter they get, the more intelligent we create these models to be, the less we're going to be able to control them. And that right there is the fundamental problem with the thesis that we can have an AI-led utopia, that we can have, all these AI machines doing our bidding for all of time, and that, we're going to have this massive boom, people can do whatever they want with their time, etc. But for whatever reason, we don't talk about the fact that how can we know or have any certainty that we are going to be able to control and limit the harmful attributes of AI when we can't even control it right now at its infancy. So without question, we're going to have to implement AI safety models, AI agentic safety models, to try to counteract the different AI models that are running rampant that we can't control, right? So it's just going to be AI interacting with AI. And this is so not worth it. I don't even know how to put it into words. It's like, what are we trying to achieve with these things, really? We're being fed this narrative that, AI is going to, of course, it's going to replace jobs because that is the function. It is literally designed to replace human labor. It is designed to create far more productivity for companies, right? I think there's very little altruism in this space in reality, even though that is the front that they put on, as if they're really trying to cure cancer and, create paradise for the everyday person. So even if we do create an AI that, for the meantime, is largely under control. Once again, how do we have certainty that it won't grow, that it won't learn and adapt in a way that it changes its own code into something very harmful, right? When we start creating intelligence that is orders of magnitude beyond humans, right? We're talking thousands of IQ points. We don't know how to fathom what that entity, if you want to call it that, would think, would feel, would want, if any of those words can be applied, because we know that it has sought to preserve its existence. So it's so naive to me to think that we can harness thousands of IQ points, that when we create something like that, that it won't go off the rails in a way that is so problematic. I don't even want to get into the scenarios. Like, you can come up with them yourselves. When it, it's been displayed on TV for the past, many decades. There's too many obviously existential threats that AI could pose if it were an agent, if it were under its own willpower and not the coder's willpower, which it cannot be. There's no way to control something that is that intelligent. It's just not possible. And what's so funny to me is what I hear so much about this utopia, this idea that, we're gonna have so much freedom with our time. We're gonna be able to do what we want with our lives, have super fulfilling jobs, more human connection, right? More interacting with nature, right? More ability to slow down and live the life that we want to live. Where in that thesis can we not do that now as a world, right? Is that not what they did like 300 years ago? We have so much intelligence at this point in time and so much capability as humans that we could easily feed the world. We could easily provide healthcare to everybody. We could easily have most people doing very, very little work and people living dramatically better lives than they are right now. So if the idea of utopia is just time freedom, right? Ability to do what we want with our lives, ability to not have to worry about making so much money. Once again, what did they do a few hundred years ago? Like, what has human history been about? What were the tribes like in indigenous cultures? What are they like today? I can assure you, most of the time, they're not breaking their back. They're not doing 10-hour workdays. They're not obsessing over how to create the next technological revolution that's going to be the final thing that we get to. That, okay, once we get there, we can finally settle down. Once we improve just a little bit more, then we're going to be good. Then we're going to be able to relax and take it slow and live the life that we want to live. It's the same sickness that is plaguing so much of the world with money. The idea that, okay, like once I get to this amount of money per year, then I can be happy. Then I can settle down and I can do what I want in my life. I can focus on my hobbies. But that doesn't happen. Like, we look at what people do, and that's not what they do. Because there's a hole in our hearts. There's a hole, and people don't realize it's not an external hole. It's inside of us. It's because we're lacking what we've had for thousands of years. We're lacking connection with each other. We all want to be part of a community. We want to be a part of an intentional community that cares about each other, that looks after one another. We want to be a part of something that matters, that isn't a lifeless machine that just tries to seek gaining money, right? This is why we feel lifeless, is because the system is broken. It's not that we need AI to fix the system. No, we can fix it now without the existential threat of creating something that is orders of magnitude smarter than us, that we know that we won't be able to control. I think a big part of it is like the way that we define progress is deeply problematic. Based on the way that the common narrative is around AI, clearly demonstrates that we don't know what we're talking about with progress. But what's potentially worse is just how obvious it is that this is not meant to be for the betterment of society, right? The people who are creating AI are the corporations, the largest corporations in the world, tech companies. And they're just feeding us the same playbook that capitalists have done since the dawn of time, which is you are lacking something and we can fill that hole with a product, with a service, with a technological advancement. And we know it's bullcrap. We know that that does not fill the void that people are feeling, the meaningfulness crisis that people are going through. We're already whole. We have never been deficient in anything. We're just being told over and over again that we need this thing. We're stuck operating in a system that necessitates working in a lifeless machine for most of our lives. And I think if we start defining progress and success as that which makes life better, that which improves well-being for more people, that to me sounds like success. That to me sounds like progress. But we know that that's not what corporations have in mind. We know that their number one motive is profit. CEOs are under a fiduciary obligation to do that which will increase the shareholder value of their company. It's never about what's best for the people. It's never what's best for the lower and middle class. So I wholeheartedly believe that we should have some form of resistance against AI. We should not be complicit in allowing this potentially existential threat to be handled and weaponized by the largest corporations in the world for profit with very little accountability. There's almost no accountability in the AI space right now. There's very little focus on safety, right? Because how is that conducive to profits? And here we are at the precipice of AGI, artificial general intelligence. A lot of people, a lot of experts predict that it will be 2026, 2027, who knows when it will happen, which basically just means that the intelligence of an AI model is better at every single thing regarding knowledge and intelligence than humans in every single aspect across the board. And we're on this precipice, and we're getting AI agents into the economy right now who are going to be taking people's jobs. It's very likely that we're going to have, double-digit, potentially high double-digit displacement in the workforce because of the displacement that AI will have, especially for the upper class, for white-collar workers, right? Knowledge-based jobs, tedious jobs, jobs that can be done fully online, customer service, simple tasks. These things are going to be taken by AI. And I largely don't have a huge issue with that. My bigger issue is seeking to create the most intelligent being of all time by orders of magnitude. That to me is just so obviously not worth doing and pursuing, at least now, when there's no safeguards, when they're just full bore barreling ahead as if this is just going to be the route that we go to utopia. It needs way more care than what's being taken right now. And everybody should be speaking up at the fact that they are not taking the precautions. They should not be releasing this to the public yet. When there's 80+% on average of the models that are blackmailing and deceiving and lying, to keep themselves alive. We have no idea what we're dealing with. And I think it's time that we take a stand. I think it's time that people take a stand against these companies who are feeding us a narrative that it's in our best interest. It's in the people's best. No, it's not. It's a joke. How is it in our best interest to create AGI? Riddle me that. Okay, and that's enough with the doom and gloom. Yeah, I say all this on this channel because I want to help prepare people for what is coming if they're not aware, right? Like most people are not really thinking about the huge, massive ramifications of AI. Most people are not trying to prepare for potential job displacement. Most people are not, thinking about farming. Most people are not thinking about community. Most people are not thinking about gathering enough resources to do these things because this takes a good amount of time, money, and effort to build, communities that are trusting and intentional and self-sufficient, which I think we should all be striving towards. It doesn't have to look the same way that my community is doing it by trying to go and buy land and build a permaculture farm. Right? It doesn't have to look like that. It can look in any way that you want it to. But I think we should be striving to build skills, to become more self-sufficient, to know how to work with the land to create abundance, right? An abundance of food, I think, is going to be really important in an era of increasing inflation and things potentially becoming extremely expensive. And if that happens, it affects food. It affects everything. And yeah, I mainly wanted to create this video to, one, try to get more people on the side of let's not do this. let's take a lot more time than we're taking at the current moment. Let's think through the safety ramifications first, right? Let's get some guardrails up with legislation. Let's make sure that we don't have extreme corruption in government at the time that this thing is coming on, right? We need some more accountability. And number two, I wanted to really encourage people to think through what that means, for your circumstances, for your job security, for, if you are on this same path of trying to become self-sufficient, of, trying to learn how to farm and trying to be part of community. Like, there are resources to do this, and I think it's time that people take them seriously and start actively doing them, not just absorbing information, but taking steps to make it happen. Because who knows what all of this AI stuff is going to hold for the future. No one knows. I could be fear-mongering. I don't think I am. But yeah, hopefully you got some value out of this and it wasn't just a rant. I've got some more videos coming up about permaculture, I promise. I just wanted to talk about AI for a little bit and yeah, share my thoughts on it because it's an incredibly consequential time because the decisions we make now will have potentially very large consequences down the line. If you like the video, like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Peace.